Welcome to the Pre Nup, the wedding-obsessed podcast designed to help you plan your dream day. I'm your host, Adriana, and each week I'm joined by the industry's top professionals, celebs, influencers, and friends who are sharing their best tips, advice, and mistakes they've made so you don't have to. The Pre Nup is a Love Stories TV podcast. Before you say, I do, you may find yourself saying, what do I do? Something Ali Stagnitta, the founder of the platform What Do I Do, realized was all too familiar when planning her own 2024 wedding. Ali built a community where brides can lean on each other, improve their health and wellness while wedding planning, figure out the best products and services to use for their weddings, and ultimately celebrate the joys of wedding planning rather than focusing on the stress. I'm so pleased to welcome Ali Stagnitta back to the Pre Nup podcast.
Hello.
Hello,
Oh my gosh,
miss.
I think that we have to say this time carbone.
Oh my gosh, okay, so that's what I was going to ask. So scratch what I said about Stagnitta. It's Ali Carbone now. Are we officially Carbone?
So it hasn't been I haven't done my name change kit yet.
Yes.
But it is sitting there. It's ready to be done.
Yes.
The biggest thing was that I needed to go on my honeymoon first because the passport stuff takes a while. And then we were like, okay, let's just get through tax season. You know, what happens is it just keeps pushing.
Oh, Ali, it's 3 years. I just got my new social. Literally last week.
Yeah, so I am still working through the motions on that, but he does ask all the time. He really wants me to change my name.
It's so funny because my husband is not this
Yeah, no.
But the name change thing was so huge for him. He was like, you have to change your name. You have to change your name.
Well, and it was funny because at first I was like, I'm going full Ali Carbone. I'm not, my middle name is Beth. I'm going to be Alexis Beth Carbone. And then the day after the wedding, literally the morning after the wedding, I woke up and someone was like, hi, Mrs. Carbone. And I was like, nope.
Whom?
I was like, that's not me. And so I was like, okay, how do I make my maiden name? But I didn't really feel like that it should be my middle name. I was like, oh, that's so long and Italian. I'm going to sound like I'm in the mafia. And then I was just like, whatever, it's going to be my middle name now. So I'm doing
I did that too. I did it too. And it is it's a 3-line.
Just long.
Yeah, it's Adriana Petrungolo Brockman. And it's such a weird, because Brockman just doesn't go with my name. It is what it is.
Right.
And I've been going by Brockman socially for years, since I've been married. But I wonder what people think, because in my head I'm like, that sounds like shit.
No, I was so I wish I had a good maiden name that was fit within a middle name, made sense. My mom's maiden name is Plant, Plant, and so she's just Laurie Plantadita, and it makes so much sense. And I'm now I'm just a super Italian woman.
You know what? You'll have a little piece of it with you.
Yes.
And maybe your kids will want to give their kids that. And I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it's
there'll be
nice to pass it
something.
along.
Yes.
Okay, so we are Carbone now.
We're Carbone.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
So if anyone wants to hear a little more background story on proposal and engagement, Ali was on before. I'll link the episode in the show notes. But before we get into all the what do I do of it and all the fun things, I want to just touch on your wedding because last we spoke, you were about to launch What Do I Do?
I was.
And you were planning your September 2024 wedding, which, we're in, what is this? February. It'll
25.
be March of 25 by the time this airs. Yes. So, okay, let's talk about your wedding. You got married in Nashville in September 24.
Yes.
And if anyone remembers, there was some wild weather happenings at the time.
Yeah.
So talk through us, Ali, because I think a lot of people have fears of inclement weather and their backup plan and whatnot. So I want to hear from you a little bit about how that went.
Yeah, so we got engaged October 2022. And so we had spent 2 years planning this wedding.
Yes.
And prior to even choosing this date, September 28th, 2024, we read the Farmer's Almanac. We were doing all of this weather sourcing discussions. We were, okay, if we get married in New York or New Jersey at this time of year, how much, what's the percentage of rain? Okay, Nashville, it really doesn't actually, what we came to find out is that Nashville actually is one of the wettest cities.
Is that right?
In terms of how much it rains, but it rains in spurts. But isn't that so interesting?
It's so interesting because I wouldn't have thought that.
For like a full day. And so they'll like get a lot of rain, but it's not like Seattle or something like that. I don't know, but it's really crazy. Apparently it's a really rainy city. Didn't really realize.
Interesting.
So, but also, it's not on the coast. Like we were like, okay, we don't have to worry about hurricanes or anything. And then as time was like going on, first of all, the weather has just gotten so weird, like from May to September. Like it's so unpredictable.
Oh, yeah.
Anywhere. And so as time was going on, for some reason I was like, I think that it's going to rain. I think that there's going to be a hurricane. And I felt this way. And my friends have said to me, they were like, you like knew. And I, in June, was like searching hurricanes pathways. Like I was like, what could be brewing in the ocean right now? Like
you became a storm chaser.
I literally became a storm chaser, but I didn't tell anyone because I was like, I don't want like everyone's gonna be like, you're gonna manifest it, whatever.
Right.
But I just like had this feeling, and luckily, also it didn't necessarily matter because I love my rain plan. You have to love the rain plan.
You have to love your plan B like you love your plan A.
Exactly. And so that was like one of the things when we were choosing venues, like we really had to pay attention to.
So your ceremony was outdoor, right?
My ceremony was outdoor on a roof.
Okay.
But all we had to do was put up a tent. And so that was essentially the plan B.
Yes.
And like I think that tents are really beautiful in a lot of ways. I had to be like, okay, it kind of sucks that we don't have like the beautiful view that we wanted to have. But that was really the only thing that rain could affect when it came to the wedding day. I wasn't necessarily thinking about people having to travel. So what ends up happening is Hurricane Helene hits and is a direct path for Nashville, Tennessee, ending in Nashville, Tennessee on Friday, Saturday, the wedding weekend. People ask me, they were like, how are you feeling leading into the wedding? Like, how did you deal with the pressure of like social media and things like that? And I definitely was putting a lot of pressure on myself, especially in the like month or two leading in. And Rich, my husband, and my mom would both be like, why are you putting so much pressure on yourself? Like, what is this? And I was just like, I have to have it be this certain way.
Right.
And to be totally honest, the second that Hurricane Helene was like in the sights, I was like, nothing else matters other than our people being able to get to Nashville. And so it actually, like, not to say it washed away, but it really did. It washed away any like pressures or fears or like anxieties that I had over anything happening at the actual wedding.
Yes.
I just was like, we have to be able to have a wedding. And my photographer just kept calling me all week, Steph Sorensen. They call her the Ali Whisperer now in these parts. Because
oh my God, that's cute.
You mourn it for sure.
Yes.
And that is so allowed. Like you can mourn the wedding you thought you were going to have. And I did. And then, she called me and was like, you know what? Like, be like water. Just go with the flow. The coolest brides are the ones that say, F it. Like, no umbrellas, let's dance in the rain. Like, and I've seen those brides on Instagram and I'm like, this is cool. Like, let everybody, the worst thing that honestly could happen at your wedding is people are like, the bride sucked. Like,
exactly.
I never, ever, ever would want that to happen. Like, I really do believe that the bride creates the vibe.
Definitely.
And so I was like, yeah, we're going to be like water. And I didn't want to be a drill sergeant. I didn't like even check the schedule of the day. I was like, we have people here for that. And I'm just going to be like water. And really like Rich and I would say, we were like, you know what? Like it's going to maybe even make people show up even like harder because they're going to just like feel bad for us. And so they're just going to like drink so much and then party because they're just be like, I feel bad for them. But really we just like wanted everyone to be able to get there and like by like that Thursday night. And we definitely had a few people change flights just to make sure that they could get in.
Sure.
Everyone got in. Like Rich's uncle walked into the rehearsal dinner. He was coming from Tampa and the airport had closed. I still don't even know how he got there. But he got there and like people just did the most to make it work for us. And like that was the lesson in it all. And I think that for anyone listening or nervous or, thinking about whether, I think advice is 1, love your plan B. Mm-hmm. And 2 is to just like really make sure you're focusing on what's important. And that's having a wedding. And like what you need to have a wedding are your people.
A lot of times it takes something like that to make you realize what is actually important, because I follow you on socials. I have for a while. You're my source for like everything pop culture. And when we had our conversation, I was like, oh my God, September in Nashville. And like, I was checking up on you on socials. I'm like, oh my God, I wonder how this is affecting her and the wedding. But like, you were clearly just so happy and beautiful.
Right.
And that shines through. Like,
Thank you.
when people, not everyone enjoys their wedding, which is really, really sad.
Yes.
But you could tell that you did.
It was so important to me. Like it was something that I was very fearful of leading into it. And even like the years of planning, I was like, how am I going to enjoy this?
Right.
Like, oh my gosh, how? Like, I need to meditate. I need to. And there were many times that I had like phone calls with one of my girlfriends who's a therapist. And I was like, okay, what are we doing wedding morning? Like, I gotta, set these intentions. I actually ended up not doing any of that because I was so at peace with like, okay, as long as my people are here. Really, it level set me in a way that I didn't have to be hard on myself and really like try to force myself to let go and like let God a little.
Yes.
I just did because I don't know. I got there and I was like, there's no more work to be done.
There's a certain point in the wedding where you hit and you're like, it's not like I want this to be over, but it's like, I just wanted to be here. Like, I'm done. I cannot do this anymore. You get like almost disgusted with the process. And this is not everybody. If you're in the early stages, this isn't a guarantee, but a lot of people will have these feelings of like, oh, I just want it to be over, or like just want the day to come. But then it does, and it's like, it's really fast. And sometimes you get to that point and there's not a weather situation, or there's not something that's gone wrong, and you're just like, kind of stressed and you can't see outside of your box. But I think that situation really brought everything to light for you, where it's like, oh, okay, like, I just want to party.
I just want to party. And like, how can this make things even better?
Yes.
Like, when I saw what the tent could look like, I was like, oh, I love this.
Gorgeous.
I was like, this is a greenhouse, like romantic vibe. The only thing that really, and I actually said this to my in-laws the other day, I was like, the only thing that really bummed me out was that our string quartet had to go inside and they had to put speakers out for them to like, they had to wire them in.
Okay.
And so, okay, everyone walked by them and then went out. And so that was fine. And then you just have to find like the beauty in each part. We got sick photos outside the night before.
Beautiful.
There were like nice pockets of no rain. Downtown Nashville would have been absolutely insane. People got to just walk freely, enjoy themselves. Like, I mean, it's kind of hilarious. There were so many things that did go wrong, especially with our night before, like leading into it.
Like what?
This is a story.
Tell me.
Okay, ready?
Oh, no.
Okay. So Rich and I decided to get married in Nashville. We go down tour with our parents and are looking for a night before spot. And we really want the night before spot to be like quintessential Nashville vibes at a honky tonk downtown. And so we see all these spots and we decide that we really love Wild Horse Saloon, which is this really old, like cool 3-story bar. And we were going to have the 3rd story, and they have a performance space there that they have bands at every night. They have line dancing lessons. And we were like, this is perfect. We'll have the 3rd floor. There's a bunch of games up there. And it actually connects to where our rehearsal dinner was.
Fabulous.
Which was the Vanderbilt's old townhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have like these 2 that just go right through. Perfect. Done. Got a great minimum that was like way less than if you're going to like Jason Aldean's or any of those places, because this is like privately owned.
Sure.
So it was perfect in budget. Great. So we go visit it, sign the contract, everything's good. And then like 4 months later, it's probably a year out from the wedding, September 23. And I'm on the phone with a CAA agent talking about my career stuff. And she's out of Nashville. And so I'm telling her a little bit about the wedding. And she was like, well, Wild Horse will be Luke's by then. And I was like, whose?
Like,
and she was like, Luke Combs.
Oh.
And I was like, I gotta go. And I call my planner and I'm like, what the heck is happening? And she was like, we literally just found out. Don't worry. Like, we're working this out for you. Like, and this is why I say having a planner is so important. And because I wouldn't have known what the hell to do. And especially, I'm like, you need a boots on the ground planner because she knows these people. And as much as these people probably don't want to upset me,
Sure.
they definitely don't want to upset her because she works in town.
Yes.
Like, I'm a one-time client.
Exactly.
She is bringing people there over and over and over again.
Right.
So they're working out some deal. I look this up and it had been done in the spring and they just hadn't said anything. So my planner works out that they are going to give us, for the same amount of that we were contracted and everything, they're going to give us Luke Combs' private space.
Okay.
Great. I'm like, are you redoing it? Like, is it, a construction zone? Like, what's happening? And they're like, it's going to be done by June. And we're like, okay, so that's 4 months before the wedding. And as time's going by, I go there in April and luckily, and this is like where my husband comes in and he's like, okay, well, you're going to give us a contingency plan. You're going to write in that Old Red, which they own, will be ours, which is Blake Shelton's bar, will be ours if this is not available.
Okay.
For same price. Okay. So they write it in. They're like, but it will be available. Yeah.
Coming
He's
through.
like, and April, I go visit the place and I have to wear a hard hat. It is bones.
No.
It is bones. I walk outside and I'm like head between knees, like having a full-blown panic attack on the streets of Nashville. Not only that.
It's not funny. It's so sad.
Oh, no. And I mean, this is like, there is so much. Right before we went and did the walkthrough, we went to Old Red and we did our tasting there. And listen, the people were amazing. Like, we worked with the most incredible guy. He surprised us with a singer-songwriter during our tasting that made up songs about us. It was like so beautiful.
Cute.
The food was amazing. Like, and also it was just like, then we go over there. I'm having a panic attack. I'm like, there's no way this is going to be done in 2 months, let alone however long. Like, it's going to be a construction zone. And the entire street, it's on 2nd, was being pulled up by the city. So it's all these barricades that you have to like slide through. And my rehearsal dinner is happening next door no matter what. So it was like just, oh my God. When you said like you get to the point of you're disgusted with planning, like that's where I was. I was like, I don't want a wedding. That way, I was like, I can't bring people here. Like, what in the hell is happening?
Yes.
With this plan, like, I'm so mad.
Yeah.
And come July, we're sending out our invitations. We are also in Nashville, seeing our band. And we ask if we can see Luke Combs to see its, the progress, because they've pushed the opening, to early September.
Yep.
I'm like, so it's going to be, what's going on? Invites go out and then they email us on like July 4th that it's not going to be ready.
Of course. Yeah.
And I was like, great, because the invitations say that it's going to be there. So, kind of go into like panic mode for a moment. And then I'm like, you know what? This is best case scenario. Now we have Old Red. Yeah. We have like a sick honky tonk that we know what it looks like. We know what it's going to be. And like, they really did show up for us, get it all together. Like, it ended up and exactly how it was supposed to be. But there was so many like twists and turns along the way that just made me be like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
Like, how? And it was one of the reasons, again, that I created What Do I Do? That I was like, especially if I didn't have a planner, like, what do you do in those situations? Okay, well, my invite says one thing. I have to communicate with everybody. I don't have everyone's emails, but I do have everyone's phone numbers. Okay, let me get this text message service that I'm going to send out like a week in advance, and then saying that the location changed a week in advance of the wedding. Then I'm going to remind them day of, because you know that your groomsmen aren't telling their wives and things like that. And so it was just a lot of like problem solving. I felt like that I kept doing. I felt like I was problem solving and like puzzle piecing for 2 years.
Yes.
Which is not for the weak.
No, it's not. It's not. And that's with professional
help. 24/7 professional help.
So that's, I think, the things that people don't think about. They're like, well, I can do this on my own. And you can. It's not that you can't do it on your own, but things like this come up and they come from out of nowhere. And it's like, do you have the time and the resources to navigate this?
Right.
Not always.
Right. And that's when, like, I think you end up with problems day of.
Yeah.
Versus, okay, we solved everything a few months in advance. Like, they told us in July, we had till September to figure it out, get everything going where we wanted it to, and, executed as we should have. And so I was able to walk in and be like, and so to the point that I was, when I started the story, the entire street was still ripped up.
So what did you do?
And so this is, again, like, working with great, fun people that, like, will do anything for you at that point.
Yeah.
The guy from Ole Red was like, I'm going to print out your logo and you're taking over Nashville. And it's one of those things that it's like, you problem solve in these bad situations. You're like, okay, the whole street's ripped up. It is pouring down rain.
Yes.
An Uber can't come up the street because it's being ripped up. So how are we getting our people from this place over to Ole Red, which is down and around? So he printed out our logo and the date, and he made big stickers that literally led everybody up the street. And so we took over Nashville. Like, and everybody was like, nobody cared. No one looked at everything. They were like, oh, Ali and Rich took over the city. Like, it actually made us cooler. Like, I was like, that's sick.
That is pretty awesome. And it always works out, like, in a way that it's supposed to, and almost always, like, even better than you could have imagined.
Yeah.
It's just the journey of getting there. Like, sometimes it's not fun to navigate.
No. And that's just, like, what I want people to know and really take away is that, like, I went through it.
Yeah.
I went through the ups and downs, the location change, the venue, a freaking hurricane that week.
Yeah.
And it was still the best weekend of my life and the best wedding that a lot of people have been to. Like, my dad, we were like, fingers crossed, is like going to be impressed with this because he has complained every second through it a little bit. Like, he's just been like, this is really expensive. I don't know if we need this. I don't know, Ali, you're doing too much here. And he is like, worth every penny. Because you know what parents love? Their friends telling them how great it was.
Of course.
That, and truly, with all of the ups and downs that we went through, it was the best.
You pleased Dad. You know, what else could you do?
Right. You got all his friends happy, best wedding ever. Like, you don't need any, like, that's it.
So it sounds like it was so much fun. I'm sure you got like so many compliments. What was your favorite part of the wedding?
Oh my gosh. So it's hard because, we really wanted our wedding to be a full weekend experience, which is why we chose Nashville in the first place.
Sure.
So everyone getting there on Thursday night, and we just had kind of this like bar situation. We took over the whole hotel.
Yeah.
Which I highly recommend. Like, if you're doing something somewhere that's more destination, or even not, like, it's the Courtyard Marriott, like, in New Jersey or something.
Sure.
You don't have to do a full buyout. Just make sure all your people book the same hotel.
Yes.
Like, we didn't spend extra money for a buyout.
Right.
We just secured all the rooms and people booked them.
And
Right. And so having everybody stay there and just be there on Thursday night especially was so fun. And like, get to know each other and see each other and hang in the little front bar area because we just had the whole hotel. So that was just such a fun seeing everyone, especially when I was so worried people wouldn't get there.
Yes.
That was amazing. And then, I loved the wedding morning. We had a line dancing lesson at our Friday night.
Cute.
And Friday night was so fun. Like, everyone almost had like a little too much fun.
Yeah.
Like, the next day, people were like dying. Like, I had bridesmaids throwing up. Like,
but you love to see it.
But
like,
that's a sign of the time. Like, thrilled.
Yeah.
And it was also like the new moms. And so I was like, nothing's more dangerous than a new mom.
Totally.
Out at her first wedding.
Oh my God, totally.
But I think I loved, what I really loved at wedding day was the ceremony. The ceremony from day one was the most important thing to me.
Yeah.
And I had really, everyone's like, it's where you're the least amount. But I was like, but it's why we're here.
And it is the wedding.
And I really wanted people to come away from the wedding being like, oh, these two are made for each other. Like that was my goal.
Yeah.
And that was really present in any single decision I made for the day. Even when it came to like the flowers and the seating arrangements and the cocktail napkins and like everything needed to have this personal touch and the food. And so our friend Jonathan married us and he did the most beautiful job. It was supposed to be 30 minutes and it ended up being 50.
Wow.
But no one cared.
Yeah. Because when it's good, it doesn't matter.
It was, and everyone, came away from it like it was enchanting and it was captivating. And, he is one of Rich's friends from college, but my grandfather and his uncle were best friends since they were 3 years old.
Stop. Oh my gosh, that's
we
so
didn't
cool.
even know until I like kind of met him with Rich and I was like, oh my gosh, this background. And so he spoke so beautifully to my late grandfather and it meant so much to my family.
Yeah.
And he got us.
Yes.
And that was exactly what we wanted. So we had a 40-minute cocktail hour, and that was fine with me because I kind of hated the cocktail hour room. I was like, this is an ugly room. So I was like, yes, Jonathan,
It's all falling into place.
It was all happening how it was supposed to.
Yes, that's a huge miss just in terms of ceremony that I think a lot of people will, they want someone who's like close to them to do it, but you need to make sure that person is like comfortable and or is going to prime themselves with like the skills to do it because it's such a huge undertaking. And for someone to be able to do it for 50 minutes, like was probably really.
It was unreal.
Yeah.
It was not expected at all.
Yeah.
And he was so like, oh my God, I timed myself. It was 30 minutes. But,
Were you collaborative with ceremony or was that all from him?
Yes. So, and I would love to speak to this too because it was something, I didn't feel like I was getting gypped, but I felt like people, when they have a priest or a rabbi or some sort of religious leader marry them, there's a canon to it. There's a method to follow. And here there wasn't much method. And I didn't necessarily know how to create a method for us to be able to build a ceremony.
Right.
Like, I don't know how to build a ceremony.
Right.
And so what I really wanted and said from the beginning, Rich and I both, was that we want our love to come through and we want everybody to leave knowing something new about us and learning about us. And so we said that to Jonathan. We met with him together and he had gotten a list of questions from his rabbi who married him that they had gone through. And he added some. I found some online and brought them together and sent them to him. We talked through together and then he talked to us each separately. And then I just kind of let him have it. And and I'm glad I did. Yeah. Because I know that there are some people that just want to control every little bit.
Sure.
I trusted him so much. And I knew that he would do an incredible job and he exceeded every single dream that I had.
I think it's important what you just said because if you don't trust the person you're asking to officiate, therein lies the red flag. Like, you need to be able to leave this person to their devices and say, like, this is the person that should be marrying us.
Right.
And it sounds like you got that.
Yes, because I think that some people go with, like, their funny friend.
Totally.
And their funny friend sometimes makes everything about them.
Correct.
And you want it to be about you guys. And so that's a big thing. Because at first we were like, oh, let's do our funny friend. And we were like, that's not going to be what we want.
Right.
Unless it is what you want and you don't want to be the center of attention and you're like an introvert.
But it is your wedding day, so it needs to come back to you.
It needs to come back to you.
A little bit. Otherwise, just elope. Like, if you simply cannot take the attention, just don't do it with people.
I know.
Okay, so Ali, if you could equip yourself with something or things before your wedding that you didn't have, like what would you not necessarily do differently, but like maybe what do you wish you had?
Can I promote my own product? Like, I wish
Please.
I wish that I had somebody telling me that my feelings were valid and letting me feel them instead of trying to bury a lot of shame and overwhelmingness.
Because you can't help but feel, and when you're the bride, a little bit silly that it's like this party celebration, but it is overwhelming. And there is good reason for it.
Yes. And I just wish I almost had like a bridal big sister that I could text and be like, okay, I'm really struggling with this. Like my mom is asking me to invite her, like her 5 best friends, and but we don't have the budget for it. And how do I communicate with her without her thinking that her feelings also don't matter? Because this is also a transition for her. And I think I did believe that it was that because I wasn't having maybe a religious wedding, I didn't have somebody that I could go talk to about things like that. Because I do think a lot of people go to their the person that's marrying them to talk about maybe some of these feelings that they're having leading into their marriage, whether it's dealing with family values or, things like that. And so having what do I do and then learning about a lot of resources that are out there for brides, like Dr. Leah Haber. I don't know if you know her.
I don't know her.
I've just discovered her. And I'm like, I wish I had this.
Who is this doctor?
Is a love doctor.
Oh, love doctor.
Yep, she is a love doctor. She calls herself a coach versus like counseling, but she essentially does premarital coaching instead of, and she has this 12-session online course that you can do with her. And it's coaching not only like you and your partner through, like what are our values as a couple and how do we want to raise our kids and things like that, but how do we communicate with mom and dad our boundaries? How do we create a brand for ourselves that will allow us to like step into this new life together and show that to the people that we love the most so they're not offended and they are accepting?
Yes.
And I needed the most help with that.
Yeah.
And so did Rich in now looking back on it. And now we're so good at it.
Yeah.
But we figured it out ourselves. And it would have just been nice to have somebody be like, this is so normal.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a reflection of you guys or your family. This is you. This is a transition.
Yes.
And so knowing that, I think would have been nice. And then having a community.
Yes.
And so that's what I kind of built to give others. I mean, nothing makes me happier than getting a text from like a stressed bride, to be honest. Like, I'm like, yeah, stress out.
Yes.
Like, nothing makes me happier being like, I got a text from a girl the other day. She was like, Ali, I'm having a what do I do moment.
Aww.
She was like, my mom's only here for one more day. I thought I was going to find my dress today. We didn't. Like, where else should I go? What should I be thinking about? What should I be looking for?
Yes.
And I'm like right there with her. And, a girl from high school who was 4 years older than me just DM'd me on Instagram. She was like, I just tried my dress on at my first fitting. My straps are so itchy and uncomfortable. What do you recommend I do? What can I find? And I was like, okay, I don't know, actually. Let me look into this and I'll get
there's
back
a
to you.
community of girls who are in the same position dealing with the same stuff. That's what I love about your platform because I follow What Do I Do and I love it and I'm always learning new things because you have these awesome events like, a lot of wellness stuff and that's a huge thing before a wedding too, and just products and services and resources that people might not have ever considered. But when you have this platform and community of like-minded brides who all have the same goal, which is to have a fabulous
An amazing wedding.
Yes. You can communicate with them in a different way than you could with like even a sister, like my sister, shout out to Big Vic. Like if I'm having an issue, she's like, oh baby, like, oh my God, it's the like, she just wants to like coddle me and like love me through it. But sometimes I need someone to be like, okay, like this is just
here's
what
your
you need.
answer.
Yes, totally.
And that's what I wanted. I wanted answers the entire time. And unfortunately, because it's not her job, my planner couldn't give me answers.
Right.
My planner was, and that was something really hard for me to understand as well. I was like, why aren't you helping me here?
Yeah.
And she was like, that is not on my payroll.
No.
Like, I'm already doing things on this
I'm
end.
not your therapist. I'm not your psychic. I'm not your, like I have a role and that's like to figure out the logistics of your wedding. And people don't realize with a wedding planner that they're not going to wave a magic wand. Like it's a reflection of you and your future spouse.
Exactly. And so having this community and I also hated not knowing what I didn't know and having to like learn things as I went. And so that's what I've tried to develop and help brides prepare for, because that it'll take away a lot of stress.
Right.
Like there's things that you really don't have to stress about if you just know them instead of
Yes.
having to seek them out.
Okay. So I could talk to you all
I
day,
know.
for real. So 2 things that I want to do before we end. First one is premarital counseling. So we have listeners write in if they have questions or concerns, if they just need advice on something. We always change the name. We always keep it anonymous. So if you want to write in, you can email Adriana at the-pre-nup.com or podcasts@lovestoriestv.com. And we renamed this one to Cecilia. We're going to help Cecilia today, Ali.
Okay.
Okay. So she says, "Hi, Adriana. Love the show. I know having a wedding coordinator is a necessity. It's something I always say.
Yes.
But I'm getting married in Mexico at a resort in November, and our venue technically comes with one. He has been our point of contact for contract and travel-related questions so far. Do you think we should hire an additional coordinator in this scenario? I want to make sure we have the help we need, but don't want to break the budget totally. Please advise." I mean, okay, you go first, Ali.
Okay, you want me to take it? Okay.
Yeah. Take it away.
So what you need to ask is how many hands he has. You need more than one. I truly do believe you need a bridal concierge with you. You need someone with the guys. And you need of several hands kind of managing the ship of the day. So what I would ask him, like, who do you bring on for help? Who's going to be with me? Who's going to be with my fiance? Who's going to be corralling the family and, the bridesmaids? So if he says, oh, it's just me, then I would look into different places that you could get coordinators. There's so many that you don't need to break the bank on. I mean, Mostest is my recent amazing find. Sarah's amazing.
She's the best.
And
it's such a great platform.
It's such an amazing platform that you can find somebody that will be able to handle.
It's like a la carte wedding planning.
Yeah.
So if you just need a day of coordinator, you just need someone to find you a venue or event design, you can handpick those things. And it's not percentage. It's all one price.
fee.
So this is just a shameless plug for Mostest. But it really is such a great platform.
It's amazing.
And you're right. And, I'm sure that the person that they're dealing with at the resort, Cecilia and gang, is fabulous and well-versed in this. But you have to remember at the end of the day that he works for the resort. And yes, he's dedicated to making your wedding special and fabulous and perfect and beautiful. But he doesn't specifically work for you. He specifically works for the resort. So there's going to be some back of house stuff that he might need to tend to if there's staffing issues or, other things that kind of come up within the scope of your wedding at the resort. So I think it's really helpful to have someone, even if they're not Mexico based, just having bridal concierge with you. If there is a dress malfunction, if, the Smiths aren't on the seating chart for some reason, these little things come up that you're not going to want to be the point of contact for on the day, and the person at the venue isn't going to be able to do. So I would say do a month of or 3 month of coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
People love destination weddings. I see all the time on Instagram, TikTok. It's if you're doing a wedding here, you just have to fly me there. I'll do it for free.
Right. Exactly.
There are ways around it.
People want to do different destinations and get into different markets. I also think too, ask somebody that's gotten married there.
Mm-hmm.
Look on the Instagram, see if they've tagged any other brides, DM the brides and be like, what did you do?
Totally.
I love communicating amongst each other.
Really
we
good
can
advice.
help each other.
And it's such a good point. I love that you brought that up because people love to share their wedding experience too, especially when it's done. It's now what am I going to do?
Help?
Totally.
Exactly.
Totally. So I think that's really, really good advice to look at the Instagram tag, reach out to some of those brides, see what they did.
Yeah.
Okay. Fabulous. All right, Ali, last thing that we have today is our after party. So these are just some fun wedding questions. Number 1 is, what is your honeymoon hotspot?
Ooh, we went to South Africa, and I
Did
cannot
you?
recommend it enough.
Oh
Oh my
my
gosh, we want to
gosh.
go every single year.
Wait, tell me more. Like, what did you do?
Oh.
Where in South Africa did you go?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I have to plug our amazing travel agent, Deborah Director. She was, again, given to me by another fellow bride, and we pretty much were like, let us do what they did because they said it was the best trip of their life. So we went to Cape Town, and then we went to the Winelands. Stunning. And then we did 2 different safaris. We went to Singita Labombo, which is in Kruger Park.
So nice.
And it was so beautiful, romantic, perfect honeymoon. And then we went to Lundalozi, which again, campy, rustic, OG safari, and that's in Sabi Sands. And all I can say is that the people, again, make it. That's the common theme here. The people make everything. And the people of South Africa are just the most welcoming, big-hearted, beautiful. They love that you are there.
Aww.
And it just was so special. They set up this special mountaintop surprise for us one night with photos. Everywhere we walked, there were like photos from our wedding.
Oh my gosh.
It was so amazing. They just were just filled with so much love. We left there filled with so much love, and highly recommend.
What an experience.
It
Okay,
was.
fabulous. I'm hearing so many people like having that on their list of want to go
Oh,
South Africa,
yes.
plan their honeymoon around. All right, Ali, what is one song that's going to get you on the dance floor at a wedding?
At a wedding. Ooh. Recently, it definitely changes, but recently it's been Pink Pony Club.
Oh my God,
If
I know. I love it.
My
I
band
love
surprised me by learning it
Shut up.
because I was telling them how much I loved it, but I had already picked my songs,
Yeah.
and they were like, oh, sorry. And then all of a sudden I hear the singers start with it, and my friends all were like, and it was such a euphoric moment. And you see it kind of on TikTok too, with like these little kids all dancing and singing to it. And it's like men will never understand. Like,
No.
I don't even know if Rich knows when it played or anything, but all my friends were like, yes.
Yes.
And that is like the ultimate dance floor wedding song for me right now.
It's so
Scream
good.
singing.
It has such good build up and
great
like
build.
I don't care. I can love it. I love it.
Yeah. It's so good.
It's so good. So
Yeah.
good. Okay. What hors d'oeuvre will you never pass up at a wedding?
A pig in a blanket.
Oh, same.
That with multiple dipping sauces.
Heaven.
That-
I like a spicy
Ooh,
mustard, maybe like a
yes.
horseradish
Yep,
mustard.
Yep,
Mm.
I love that. Or I've been really into, and I've seen it a bunch, and we did it at ours, is a spanakopita. Like a good spinach pie,
Cannot
just like
go
a nice little
wrong.
crispy with a
And they're
tzatziki
easy
dip.
to pop.
Yep.
That's what I like about an hors d'oeuvre. If they're easy,
Oh,
like
yeah.
I don't want something that I have to
Two-bite
work
men.
for. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Because you have your
exactly.
purse, that was like something that we focused a lot on. We didn't want many, like, I don't know, multiple hand holding things.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Very smart. Okay. What is your signature cocktail or mocktail?
Ooh. Signature cocktail is going to be the Dirty Martini, no
Woohoo.
vermouth.
Okay.
And we had like a full martini bar at the wedding, which was
Fabulous.
so good. Espresso and regular.
That's what an espresso martini.
Yes.
You know what?
It
like
hits.
right after cocktail, you get it,
Yeah.
and then it like
Yep.
sends you for a little
It
bit.
hits.
Okay. If you could invite any living dream guest to your wedding, who would it be?
Taylor Swift.
Is it Taylor Swift?
It has to be Taylor Swift.
Okay.
Like, I mean, she has to be such a fun wedding guest. You
I'm
see
sure.
her dancing. You see maybe she'd pop up. My last song of the night was Love Story, and like
Cute.
had the horns come down and like big thing. And I just
And she like got her start in Nashville.
exactly.
It's
I like almost kind of thought I was like, is she gonna show up? She didn't,
Me-
but I was hoping she might. I was hoping.
Oh, T Swift. Okay. And then last question, Allie, is what is one practical piece of advice that you could give to any couple planning a wedding?
Ooh. Well, the first would be to get the What Do I Do Brides engagement starter kit, which you can get now available on our site, www.whatdoidobrides.com. That is going to have literally everything all the questions that you have for right when you get engaged, from building out your guest list. We have a full guest list template for you. For budgeting conversations, we have literal scripts.
I love it.
Literal scripts for how to talk to your partner, your family if they are getting involved. setting boundaries. Like we have it all for you.
Yes.
We also in there have fun workbooks about just like figuring out the vision of your wedding. So that is a must do first and foremost. And then celebrate. Just bask in it and enjoy it because it goes really fast. I always think that the most unfair thing is that your wedding day is only 24 hours.
It's sick.
It's the same as the day before and the day after. And so just enjoy every moment, as even the hard ones, because you'll look back on them and be like, I got through that and it still was amazing.
Totally.
And that's what I do.
You're proof of that because you really went through it, my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Ali, you are so wonderful. Tell everyone where they can find you and what do I do and all the things.
Yes. Okay. Everybody can follow me at Ali Stagnitta on Instagram. And you can also follow at What Do I Do Brides and find us online, www.whatdoidobrides.com. We host so many fun events and have so much more coming up, especially that product drop, which is going to be huge and amazing. And there's so much in store for this year. So I'm really excited.
I am so excited for you and for the future of What Do I Do and all the things. You are just so wonderful. Thank you for being here. You're the best.
You are too.
Thanks,
this
Ali.
is so great.
Thanks for tuning into the Pre Nup. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform or on the Love Stories TV YouTube channel. Follow at _pre_nup and at Love Stories TV on Instagram for more. Have feedback or suggestions for the next episode? Feel free to reach out to us at podcasts@lovestoriestv.com.